let me get my video up myself so that I can see any comments or anything on my laptop. Okay. I don't know why the camera doesn't let me do it at an angle, because that looks better, but then it tells me no. It's all right. This is what we'll do. Okay, so we are making this bag. This is the one with MoreMeKnow, and that's what we were making today. So I've already got everything cut out. This is a pattern by Sincerely Jen Pattern Company, and I've got everything I need already cut out. Everything's done. So what you'll need, you're going to need a ruler on hand because there is a part where you have to make a notation and cut things and you have to measure down and different things like that. So make sure you have a ruler on hand. You're also going to need your pattern, obviously. Hardware wise, I am doing a reset zipper at the top, so I have 3 zipper pulls instead of 2. The pattern calls for 2, but I'm doing 3, and I'm even doing my Hogwarts one that I sell on my website. All my hardware comes from my website, by the way. A strap connector kit, my name tag, some rivets, and then Made with Magic. This is from Lauren's website, MoreMeKnow.com. I buy a lot of these from her. Then I put them on my bags that I make with any type of Harry Potter fabric on it. So here's my materials. There we go. I think everything looks pretty good on the camera. If you want to chat, just say anything in the chat. I can see you guys, so that's fine. So if you say anything, I can see it because I am set up with my laptop today. So that's great. Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, everything's set up. I've got 2 bobbins full and ready to go. So let's get going. All right, so when I do my cutting, just so you guys can see, I do, trying to catch up with my phone, I don't know what happened. I have my pattern here, and then I like cross it off with waterproof, with a dry erase marker. I put a piece of tape on it, and then when I cut everything out that I need and make any notes, I just wipe it off. So that makes it very helpful. Lauren did this on one of her videos. I was like, oh, that's genius. So I do that now, from now on. Okay, so this pattern is available on Sincerely Jen's website now. It was only exclusively with the box, the summer box, but now it's available to everybody. Okay, so I'm going to get these pieces out. So you're going to get your back main piece and your pocket A piece out. Okay, so I printed mine at 85%. For my market, this is a very popular size. I like to keep the pattern pieces on it just so that I remember what pieces go where. So the lining piece gets attached to it like so, and then clip. So it says it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance unless otherwise stated. That's a pretty deep seam for this here. So I only do 1/4 inch and then I trim it back. It doesn't really mess with anything, so I don't mind doing that. My picking shears, just cut away. I do have my kids with me, so if you hear my little ones, they're not even all that little anymore, but that's why, just in case. All right, so then when I'm doing shears, I like to push these both in, and then push with my finger right there. I like to do this one here first, and then I do this one. And then the rest of it just kind of lays where it needs to. Okay. And I just roll it between my fingers. I kind of pull on it a little bit, and we just roll it with my fingers, and there we go. It lays nice. I'm going to top stitch. This is just a regular industrial. It's not a heavy duty. It's not a walking foot one. It's just a regular one. My husband bought this for me. I don't know, about 5 years ago, I think. I think it's been 5 years. I don't even remember. I know it's been a while. Okay, did that. Now we're going to take this, put this here. So now we're to step 3. So for step 3, I'm going to, now this one I do at 1/2 inch because anything that's outside of this area doesn't really matter anyway, so it's okay. I'm going to close this up. So I'm going to go all the way down, pivot, fold the front piece back. Okay. Line everything up. And I do trim some of this away so that it's not as bulky when we are doing our top stitching later. If you get really close, just make sure you don't cut through your stitches. That down there doesn't really matter whether things are going to get bulky, but I trim it away anyway. Okay, then it tells you to baste this down. And then this is just a temporary stitch. You could take it out later if you wanted to. And I just jump over. This is just to kind of keep all those pieces together so nothing is folding over on itself when you're doing your top stitching. Okay. Just like that. This piece is done, and we can set this piece aside. So that piece is done. Now we're going to go to our zipper tab. So because I am doing mine at 85%, I did change the measurement for the zipper. So the longest zipper, okay, is the one that we're going to be using here currently, except for this one I know is for my top recess zipper, so I'm going to put that aside. So if you look at your 2 zippers, one is for the interior pocket and one is for the outside piece. And what I did with this is I just took the measurement and I divided it by 0.85. I'm sorry, I times it by 0.5. So if the original one was 11 inches, I times that by 0.85, and then that's what got me the measurement here, which I think was like 9 something. Okay, then you're going to need your tabs, which I have. Those are not my zipper tabs. Here they are. Okay, so here are my zipper tabs. These are just little extra pieces that I use for when I do my magnets. Okay, and these are our straps. Yeah. Strap connectors. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside for right now. All right, we're going to get our zipper pulled. So this is the featured one. This is the main one. So I'm going to use this, the Harry Potter one, the Hogwarts house zipper. Crack it open. My left was the one on the was higher, so I'm putting that one in. Okay, there we go. I'm going to sandwich this in. You could use just one piece of waterproof canvas if you wanted to and just fold it over it. Anything that has a raw edge you could just leave and just do one piece. But I'm just using my exterior pieces. Okay, take this, pretty side stitching, pretty side stitching. Okay, then you're going to pull on it and make it go straight, just like that. Okay, if your zipper tabs are a little bit too long, it's better that you trim it than you have it too short. So keep that in mind. Longer is better than shorter. So you can always take away, but you cannot add. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. And there's our zipper tape. Okay. All right, so there's our zipper tape. Now it's telling us that was step 5. Now step 6, we're going to take this and put it aside. We're going to take step 6. We're going to get our contrast piece A. Okay, contrast piece A. And we are going to place it with the exterior pocket, front pocket. So exterior front pocket. So the exterior front pocket is this pattern piece. Okay, and it's the one that is the full size. Okay, the full size one. I used 2 of them for my exterior just because I had it there. So what we're going to do now is I like to find my centers. Find my centers. There isn't a right or wrong like top or bottom to this piece here for the contrast because it's a straight piece. But this piece here is angled just a tiny bit. So just make sure that you have it going to the top. That's also why I keep my pattern pieces on it. Okay, so it says pretty sides touching, and then we're going to sew it a 1/2 inch. And my piece here is just a little bit longer than the piece itself. Okay, but that's okay. Like I said, I can trim that off later, but I can't add to it. So I can trim, but I can't add. Okay. Then it's telling me to press the pocket contrast up away from the exterior, okay, and then top stitch with a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, okay? So it wants me to keep this up like this, but I'm going to push it down because it gets really bulky in there. So it tells you to top stitch right here. You could literally butterfly this if you wanted to, just so you have a little bit of oomph behind it. I'm going to butterfly it, and then I'm going to top stitch at both pieces just because I'm extra. And this foot makes it really easy to do 1/8 because this foot is 1/8. So it makes it really, really helpful to do top stitching. Okay, and then I'm going to go down and top stitch. Tightening up my okay. Now we have that done. Okay, so now it's telling me to get my zipper, okay, and place my zipper with it closing to the left on top and stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out my center of my zipper. I'm just going to mark it right there and right there. Okay. If my lighters were working, I would have snipped it and then just singed it, but they're not really working all that well. So what can you do? All right, so I'd already marked my center of my top accent piece here. I sell this tape on my website as well. It is super helpful. It works really well. And you tear it with your hand instead of having to get scissors or anything to snip it away. I like it. It makes my life easier. There we go. Okay, now it says to baste it in place. So with the basting, I'm just going to leave it at the 5 and do an 1/8 of an inch baste. If I wasn't following the directions exactly, I would have just sandwiched my two pieces together. But I wanted to follow the directions exactly. Because there is a little piece in here that gets a little confusing. Okay, so now we are going to trim a 1/2 inch off the straight edge of one of the taller lining front pocket panels. Okay, so there's 2 of them. There's 2. I'm going to take that and put that out to the side for right now. There's 2 of these pieces. You're going to take one, put it aside. You're going to take the other one, and you're going to cut it. You're going to trace and then cut it. And this is why I said you needed a ruler. 1/2 inch. Mark and cut at the top edge. So if you measured this end and this would be smaller. That's the one you're cutting. Lauren gave us rulers with the project box, which was awesome. But the glitter is so glittery, I can't see the numbers. So I only use it at my cutting table just to do straight edges where I already know where I'm supposed to cut, just so that it makes it easier for me. All right, so I'm going to take this other piece that did not cut and put that aside. Grab this piece, grab this one, and then line it up and stitch right across there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab myself a little bit more of tape. I think that's the quietest my son has ever been. Like, I have never had him be this quiet before. He's here. Do you know why he's so quiet? No? It's very interesting. There we go. I know he's back there because I hear him. Match up my center seams. Tape it. Tape it, tape it, tape it. Okay. So now what I like to do is I actually like to stitch from this side where I've already seen the stitches that I've done before. And then now we are stitching it down with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Open up my zipper, get past the zipper. Okay. So once you've done that, you're going to flip the lining pocket so that the wrong sides are touching together. So like so. And then you're going to top stitch on the other side of the accent piece. You're wanting to have all of your pieces go down that way. So what I'm doing here is I'm really pulling on this, I'm just pulling on the bottom on the waterproof canvas, not too much on the zipper tape. Try not to, at least, just to make sure it looks nice and flat right there. And then I'm going to stitch it down. So if you're doing this on a domestic machine, I do not recommend using vinyl because it's going to be really thick, especially on your side seams here in just a minute. So I don't recommend using vinyl with a domestic. I have made this bag on a domestic several times with waterproof canvas and cotton fabric fused with, what does she call it? So Fuse Plus? Yeah, So Fuse Plus. Look at that, so pretty. I love a good top stitch. All right, so now it's going to ask us to get the contrast pocket piece B, which is another piece of vinyl that I cut. So if you're not doing vinyl, if you're doing a domestic, you're going to do waterproof canvas or another cotton that is interfaced. I'm going to get my center marks marked on here. Sorry, guys. So doing things on my lap. Okay, and you're going to place this one down. Okay, and we're going to stitch it on the top part of the zipper. Okay, take that, line it up with the center. I'd made the mark on the back of the zipper, so that's why I look that way. Okay, just like so. Okay. Then we are going to do a basting stitch. Again, a basting stitch, remember guys, is a stitch that is a temporary stitch or something that's just to hold things for a second, not very long, which technically my tape could be considered a basting stitch, but I wanted to show you guys in case you don't have tape. If you don't have tape, flip it. Use clips. I didn't want that falling down. Okay. All right. So that's what it calls for. Now, for step 12, this is where it can get a little tiny bit confusing. Step 12 says take the remaining taller piece. This piece. The one we haven't made cut down, right? So it's the full length of the pattern piece. See? The full length. It's not the one that's cut at this line. The full piece. Okay? And then you're going to mark your center. And you're going to place it together, just making a sandwich, just like you did before. So the illustration on step 12 almost looks like it's exactly like this. So you don't see this piece. It's very hard to tell. So I am just letting you know that because we did have a little tiny hiccup with that during the class when Lauren and I did the class back in August, I think it was. Yeah, August. Oh my God, how time flies. It's already November. Lauren just finished doing the So Magical Expo down in Florida. I can't wait for us to start talking about next year's schedule so we can discuss when she can come back and do another workshop because it was so much fun. Or like not like a workshop, more like a exactly sew whatever kind of thing. So just come in and sew whatever you want to sew with mind-like people who just like to sew and come in and have fun. Kind of like open studio. Come together. Pretty much fun. Okay, so I'm sewing this at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, just like I did with the other one, with the other side of the zipper. Okay, now here's where I'm going to tell you to slow your roll, because you're going to want to flip this open and top stitch. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, so now it's telling me to center my magnet and put it down. I'm not doing that yet. And I'm going to tell you why. Because this is at 85%. So it's smaller than the measurement. And I don't know the exact measurement of this because I've never really stopped and wrote it down. So what I do now is I go ahead and proceed to step 14. Okay. Step 14 has me take the remaining pocket piece, put it down on top of this piece. Okay. So this is the smaller lining piece. I did use the exterior fabric, but I did that on purpose. So when you go inside and you look inside, you're like, oh, look, it's Quidditch there too. I thought it'd be cool. I don't know if I have one in my car, but sure. Okay, just be careful. I'm using my iPhone charger, and he needs an iPhone charger, so he's trying to get one from the car now. There we go. You got it? I guess that's a yes. That together, line up the raw edges. Okay. Ooh. Well, that just landed where it needed to go. Okay. What happened? Am I frozen? Please don't tell me I'm frozen. Low battery. Oh, it's not even plugged in. Sierra, plug me in quickly. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Over there. Right there. Anything that could happen is happening. Okay. All right. I think I'm back. Is it in all the way? It's still saying no. Okay, good. All right. I'm sorry about that, guys. I didn't notice my phone wasn't actually plugged in. So I'm hoping to come back on. I see you. Okay. I see you there, but just not there. Okay, now I see myself. Okay, so just as a quick repeat, step 13 has you do the magnet here. I don't do that yet. I'm skipping to step 14 right now. Well, at the end of base the exterior front pocket and the two lump together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I don't know what it's talking about with that. The end of that doesn't make sense. But okay, so we're 14. 1/2 inch seam allowance. Sew these two pieces together. Okay. So now it's telling me to go to step 15 is flip the lining pocket up away from the contrast B and then top stitch along this piece. So they want you to go like this down. And then top stitching. This is another reason I do not put my magnet on yet, because then this top stitching is almost impossible with the magnet. Just saying. It's it get really close, but the magnet does just not like it. Because it's a magnet, and then the bottom piece is metal. Sometimes your pressure foot is metal. We're using a Teflon foot, so it doesn't matter there, but it's just, it gets a little bit tricky trying to sew really close to that. Okay, so now it's time for magic. Okay, so it's telling us to take this piece, right? Push it down with this piece, right? And this is supposed to match up. So we're not sewing this piece. We're sewing, it's like we're doing like this. Where is it, this piece too? I don't think so, because then it just doesn't fold over. I don't know anymore. Like that. But the idea is to have a little bit of a fold over right here. Right here. And then back here is where the button's going to go. The button. Back here is where the magnet's going to go. And then this is like this piece, like an accent piece that kind of goes down. So what I like to do in this instance is, because I'm working with something that's a little fidgety, right? This is a 1/2 inch. I'm going to mark and snip at my 1/2 inch on either side of my piece, because that's how much I want to, that's where I want to fold in. This is where everything kind of gets so confusing. We're going to match up all of our pieces, literally all of our pieces together, and sew it down. So when I go like this, it matches on each end. Okay, and we do have some extra right here. I don't know how to prevent that. I mean, I have made this bag so many times, and I have no earthly idea how to make this bag without having excess. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I've made this bag several times. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Because I keep reading through it and rereading. Maybe it's supposed to be like that. I'm not sure. I think so, because I've made this bag like 12 times. And every time it's like that. So what I'm doing over here is just making sure that when I'm doing my little fold, it's with that. There. It doesn't matter right now, but it's just so that this lays flat where it needs to be. Okay, that one's there, that one's there. All right, so all we're doing now is just stitching right through here. Okay, right through here is where we're stitching. We're not stitching the sides, just the bottom. Okay. And if you wanted to do less than a 1/2 inch, you could, because we're already losing a lot over here. Totally up to you. So here's what I do, because there's a lot of layers in here, a lot of layers, is I come through here and I like cut away my interfacing from this seam. Like so. And then I cut my interfacing away from this side as well. What that does is it keeps the bulk out of it. Even with an industrial sewing machine, there's still limits to an industrial sewing machine, especially if you don't have a walking foot. There's still limits to it. So it's not like you can just, do whatever. You have to know the limits of your sewing machine. And I know my limits. Pull that off. Comes right off. Okay, and then you can trim this down. I like to use my picking shears just because it really does help reduce some of that bulk in that seam. If it wants to cooperate. I'm not saying they're the best because I've had them forever. Might be time to get some new ones. They usually do pretty good. I don't have more than a couple layers. There we go. Okay, now that that's done. Now it's telling us to turn it out. Okay. I did not forget about my magnet. But thank you for reminding me. Okay. So just in case, I'm going to just kind of push it, help it along, and I'm going to push it and pull it at the same time. Push and pull. Like a tube. Push and pull. So far I've only did differently from the pattern is not putting my magnet on and then the extra excess at the bottom. That's the only thing I didn't do the same. Okay. So now we can kind of press this. What I like to do personally is make sure that this seam kind of have it up a little bit so it's not so thick when I'm doing my stitching down. So it's not like on top of that other seam, it's just right beside it. Okay, so now I'm going to put my magnet on. Okay, so now I'm going to fold this in half. Find my center point right there. Make a dot. I haven't done my sides yet, so this is what's going to allow me to put my magnet on without any problem. I have the slim ones on my website. Okay. Well, that's not going to be very helpful. I have the thin ones on my website. So this part doesn't really matter as long as you use the thinnest part of it at this point, which normally is the outie. So usually the outie is the one that is thinner. So if you don't have the slim profile, that's how stuck this magnet is. If you don't have the slim profile one, then you're going to use the outie here. Doesn't necessarily matter as long as they both magnetize together. But for me, I'm going to be using the outie here as well. All right, I'm going to put my circle there. Make my lines. And you see how it would have been so close with that top stitching there? That's why I don't do the magnet till now. Okay? That's the only really difference that I do. I put my hand inside and make a hole. I'm only cutting just a tiny, tiny bit. I'm not really going through really hard. Okay? I'm going to go inside. Put my washer on. Okay? And then make it flat. I push them out. The magnet's installed. That easy. Okay, so now we're going to do our top stitching. So now that we're doing our top stitching, I'm going to go ahead and roll this the way I want to. See what I mean? It's just like an eighth of an inch up from where it would normally be. So it's not directly on top of each other. That's also helpful when you're working with a sewing machine that's not a walking foot industrial. Because even my machine, like I said, has limits. Okay, like that. Make all of this flat. There we go. This inside piece wants to keep flipping. Backwards and forward and backwards and forward. You want that seam to go inside and tuck right up in there. Okay. So now I get to, well, that's gonna be interesting. I can't stitch here because if I stitch here, it's gonna get my guy. I guess I am gonna have to push that down a little bit more. So you just have to, there we go. Just know what you can and cannot. I'm just noticing that. I'm like, oh, okay. So I am gonna have to try to work with that thick seam down here and see what I can do. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Okay. So what I'm doing is making sure that when I stitch right there, it's not gonna go through this piece here because that equals a broken needle every day, especially on Tuesdays. Tuesdays. I don't know why I said that. That lottery song is in my ear. Here in North Carolina, it's like they say every Tuesday, the first Tuesday of every month, the new lottery tickets or something, like scratch offs come out or something. All right, so now I know that I have passed my magnet without any problems. And I went really slow, but just in case anything kind of got stuck, I would see it. Okay, so now it's time to go down. You're not going to see that part anyway. Ooh, you're like not wanting to write on there, are you, huh? This is like really close to the edge. It kind of wobbled a little bit because it's a little uneven. So I had a little tiny wobble right there. I'll show you guys. That's where the bulk is right here. It also wobbled there too. Just the opposite direction. A little wobble, wobble. Wobble, wobble. See how close that came to that? Okay, so see, it did a little tiny up right there, and then right here it did like a little whoops. You can't really tell. I can tell just because I'm making it, but nobody else can tell. Okay, so now we are going to grab our back, what's it called? Main panel piece. It's the one without the swoop. No swoop. It's this one. This piece here. And we're going to put this here, right on top, just like so. Now here's the thing. You want to have yours up by 2.5 inches. Very important, because if not, you're going to have trouble boxing your bottom. So make sure that the measurement from down up is 2.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my centers, because that's going to help me later on. Usually I do this at the cutting table, but I literally cut this right before we went live. I had my daughter helping me. Okay, so let's go get our measuring tool to. Okay. This is where I'm bringing in the long clips. The long clips have to kind of hold everything down. Oh, mayday! I lost my ruler. Mayday. Okay. Now, if I say if anything looks a little crooked, right, what's more important is this top one than down here. So if anything kind of went a little, okay, then make sure this looks as straight as possible than this. This is at the bottom of the bag. You're not going to have as much focal as you would here, especially with all your pretty top stitching. So if you had to choose one or the other, make sure the top is in line as much as possible, which it is. All right, so now for step number 18, it tells you to install your magnet and so on and so forth. Like I said, I don't do that. I'm going to install my magnet now, but differently than the measurements that they gave us, because obviously I use different measurements. So I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to write on the outie of the belly button, push it down, and then it's going to give me a marking. Okay, so give me a second, because my washer on that, the washer on this one doesn't have both of the sides punched out, so I have extra somewhere. Just want to make sure I grab it out of there. I won't have you guys take too long to do it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and line it, the circle with the circle. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, as long as the circle's within the circle. Okay, and now here's where I can grab one of those little tiny pieces that I had earlier. If I can find it. I don't know what I did with it, but it's okay. It's one of those extra little, just for a little extra security on this piece here, just because this is just canvas and interfacing, but that's okay. Like that. I may have put them in here, I don't even know. What did I do with my, here it is, a magnet. Push it through. Push it through. I like to push it out. Okay. Snap it in place. And that's all she wrote. Just like that. Okay, so now we're going to base this on the sides, but we're going to come across and actually sew it onto the bag at this point. Okay. The basing is just to make sure that everything, the sides just kind of stay where they need to stay. And then over here, you're wanting to do this at about 1/8 of an inch from the fold and stitch. You could do 2 lines of stitching if you wanted to. Completely up to you. I love a pretty top stitch. It's like warm bread. I love warm bread. Carbs. Which reminds me, Daddy wants me to make Jiffy cornbread when I get home. Okay, Sierra? Daddy wants me to make Jiffy cornbread when I get home. Okay? Just so that you can remind me. Sometimes I forget. Look how pretty that is. Then there's a little pocket with a magnet. All right, so now we're going to get the front piece that we had earlier. So our front pieces, I'm going to go ahead and find my center. This would have been easier earlier, but it's okay. It's okay. This is going to help us a lot in the long run. Oh, yay, Sierra, you have your nails done, so you can help me turn this bag inside out. Later, not right now. I'm lining up the sides. So right here, this is extra. You can trim that away if you want to, which I am. That is bulky. Can you imagine doing that on a domestic? Ooh. It almost didn't do it with my machine. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I'm going to have to makeshift the jump pumper for that. Okay. Pretty sides touching. Clip it in place to make sure everything's kind of matching as much as possible. Because of the bulkiness of this pocket, it's going to want to like do kind of wavy stuff. It's okay. Just work it in. Okay? Just work it in. That is really thick right there. Okay. I think your brother, is he knocking on something? Oh, you can't hear. You have your AirPods on. Let me switch my AirPod because I know mine's dying. There we go. Okay. So now, direction step number 19. Sew down each side. Do not sew the boxy corner. You're going to go to here, back stitch. Come here, back stitch. Okay, we're jumping over. We're not sewing this. Watch and see. So right in here, it's going to get really thick. So I'm going to use a makeshift jump pumper. Hump jumper. I'm trying to figure out like what happened to those. Pieces. Okay. I'm going to use my ruler. Okay. So we get really close to it. I'll show you what I do with my ruler. If you have a domestic machine, a hump jumper is very, very useful. Very useful. Okay, we're doing it with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. It's starting to get bulky there. Take this, pop it underneath. Take it slow. Okay, coming down. There we go. So up the hill you have to use it, and going down the hill you also have to use it. Okay, take this, bring it on over here. We don't have any uneven terrain here, so you can go a little faster if you want to. Little bit of a terrain shift here, just a tiny bit, for that piece right here, front pocket is. Okay, right here, getting a lot of bulk. It's really high. Okay. Coming down. There we go. No skip stitches, even where the really, really thick stuff is. The back looks really good. I think that is considered a success. So if you're having trouble with your domestic machines, use a hump jumper when it comes to thick seams and take it nice and slow. Even if you have to hand crank it nice and slow, make sure you have a thick needle as well. Okay, so now it's telling us to box our corners. This is where you have to just take it and really push. You have to really push this one down because he doesn't want to go down because of that pocket piece. I like to butterfly my seams open. Okay, and what's important part is when you take this down, this is straight. Okay, so even if you have to clip down here further down or anything like that, do it. Just show it. You're the boss. Right, Sierra? She's like, I don't know what you're talking about, Mom. Talking about being the boss. Half-inch seam allowance. If you're ever making any boxy pouches and you're always like, why doesn't it stand up on its own when it's the same dimension everywhere? It doesn't have like a big heavy front pocket or anything. I don't understand why it's not standing. It's probably because your boxy bottom isn't straight. If it's off by like an eighth of an inch, a little tiny bit, it falls over. The only way to prevent that is to have a square piece. And that's just resisting, like this piece here is resisting. Snip. It's not wanting to do it. There we go. Now it's nice and straight. See that? Because this guy was trying to resist it.